Hey everyone, this is Jason Jaworska and I'm the product director for CI/CD, and I'm doing an introduction for my features that are going to be candidates for the 13.4 release. This is a pre-kickoff, so this is not what we're planning on necessarily delivering in 13.4, but this is more internally for the engineering team to see what we are discussing. So I'm going to introduce the individual items here briefly so that there's a little bit of context. All the same info is in the issues, but this just may help for people who prefer a video. All right, the first issue that's mine, and I will only be covering mine in here. Tao may have a video, may she have some other way that she'll communicate this, is documenting the migration from GitHub Actions to CI/CD. So we're actually starting to see some people who are saying they're dissatisfied with Actions already, which is not surprising. Even if it's a great product, some people will move off. But yeah, they're running into some challenges around, I guess, like the availability of plugins and whether they trust the community ones. And there's a few different reasons they're coming over. But what we want to do is have a migration guide of some kind. At one point, I did a conversion of or a wrapper basically for a GitHub action that could run inside of CI/CD. So we'll probably include something like that in there. Just a general concept guide. We can take some of this or share some of it with our Jenkins guide. But this will help arm our sales team with information that they can give to customers who are interested in switching to GitLab CI from GitHub Actions. This one is not mine. Allowing optional caching in failed builds. So this one is at the top, but it actually wasn't the highest priority one. So the order in here may be a little messed up at the moment. But what this one is so when you're running a pipeline, especially when you're setting up a project for the first time, you're often having a lot of build failures. And so we don't cache on build failures. So if you set up like NPM caching, where you're just downloading the same artifacts and the failures are actually unrelated to anything that's being cached or not, then all of your builds are taking an extra long time because there was no way for you to save the cache along the way. You could try to do something and trick it by like forcing a successful build, but that's fairly ugly. So what we want is to be able to say, and this is really the case for a lot of different kinds of caching that people do, that the state of the cache is not related to the output of the build. It's related to me fetching some dependencies or something like that. So there'll be a new cache keyword that can say, just always cache. These are external dependencies I'm fetching. Even if my build fails, these are still valuable. Don't refetch them every time. So that's what this issue is. Hopefully it's a small one. And that's a theme for my areas. I tried to find a lot of smaller quick wins. So you'll notice there's a higher number than typical of direction items, but I think a lot of them, maybe not this one, all of this is up for discussion, but a lot of them will be, really small, and hopefully we can knock a bunch of good direction items out. But anyway, this looks like something that's not mine. Integrations is mine. So this is another issue here that will, okay, so this is an issue that's been out there for a while, and recently the release team made it so that we can handle forks better within the GitLab only workflow. And what they did is they made it so that if you're a project maintainer and someone has forked your project, that you can say, I want to run a pipeline in my project on this person's branch who has the fork. And the reason that you might want to do that is because there's more advanced, I guess, like more advanced testing, more potentially secrets and things like that are in your project that are needed in order to do like certain things, like maybe set up a review environment. And so we wanted to give people access to be able to choose to do that, but we couldn't just make it so that, if you fork a project, you could put anything in it and then it would run against the parent. So yeah, they released that and it's working well. And then we want to add the same feature for CI/CD mirroring. So if you're using Bitbucket, SCM, for example, or just some external Git repo, and you've got repository mirroring on, if someone makes a fork of that, we want to give the person who's using CI the same control to be able to say, I want to also go ahead and run a pipeline on this other fork. It's more complicated, of course, in this case, because there's an additional layer of abstraction there. But it still, it should work the same where it's in the control of the person who owns the project. And so I'm hoping that this can be small as well. And we can find a way to just take advantage of what the release team built and deliver something pretty cool. If this ends up being large, then we probably just won't do it. And probably the same on this one, to be honest, but we'll see. I do hope that both are small. Get graphic visualization is not mine. Variables and rules changes. So this is a popular one where under the changes keyword in rules, we don't support variables there to allow for matching based on variables of whether we should run a job or not based on if the file's changed. So that's obviously a handy thing where in a lot of cases, just adding variable support for these things is good. I don't know if this is one where there's an order of operations problem where like we need to know if the job exists before we do the variable resolution and so on. But if we can at least support like predefined variables that are available, you know, from pipeline creation, that would be an improvement. So that's another one to look into. Allowing child pipelines to trigger their own child pipelines is another one that I hope is very small but high value. And this one is right now child pipelines can trigger, well, a parent pipeline can trigger a child and that child can trigger no further children. This is about increasing the limit at least by one. And potentially a couple more if that's possible. But the reason for this is so that is because if you want to truly dynamically generate child pipelines, then you need one more level to do this. So you can have a parent that's static and it can generate a child, or it can generate any number of children, but those children are not static. Sorry, what's the best way to say this? The number of children there cannot be dynamic because it's all encoded in the parent pipeline. If you want to have a dynamic number of child pipelines created, you need to dynamically generate a child pipeline, which then can dynamically generate a number of child pipelines. And it's just the way the architecture works that it works that way. We explored some other options to allow for a parent child to dynamically generate a number of jobs based on a single job, but those are quite complicated and didn't look like a good way to go at first. So this is our step to unlock some of those use cases. Not mine. Ability to render a process or merge GitLab CI YAML. So this is some endpoint where you can request, you can pass a GitLab CI YAML and get back one with the includes all merged in. So this isn't like the pipeline state or the pipeline object that would be ran like we're doing with the linter, but this is just like process all of the YAML, merge in the includes, and then just give it back to the user. It's a troubleshooting tool. So if people are using a lot of includes, and especially includes that use includes, they can just say like, what the heck is going on here? Just show me the whole thing merged as if GitLab did it. And that's a nice troubleshooting tool. And this one can also be an endpoint. It doesn't, we don't have to over-engineer it. Show relevant values for job names for matrix builds. This is a good follow-up from matrix builds, which we released in the last release. This will make it so that you can see the variables that are in play on each job. So right now, if you have a matrix job that has like a 2x2 matrix for debug and release, and then x86 and ARM or something, you'll just get, you know, job 1, job 2, job 3, job 4 will be the job names. This updates that to say, job 1 is x86 debug, job 2 is x86 release, job 3 is ARM debug, and job 4 is ARM release. So you'll be able to see which job is which. Right now you kind of have to open it up and it's kind of unclear. Raising the user limit on DAG relationships. So this one has actually been merged behind a feature flag already, so this may end up coming into 13.3. But if it doesn't, what it is it's just raising the limit from 10 or 15, I believe, I think 10 to 50, based on the monitoring that we've done and unlocking more use cases for people to use the DAG in more complex situations. Another super small one, I hope. This one is probably the larger one that I do hope that we get a chance to do, improving navigation between parent and child pipelines. So I was talking about parent-child pipelines a bit above, and one of the problems with child-parent pipelines is that from an author perspective, it's a tool you can use to organize things, to essentially namespace things, to separate out the logic. In a mono repo, you can put different things in different places, and it's very handy from an authoring standpoint. But from a user standpoint, when you're looking at just a pipeline that's running, you really don't care about any of that stuff. It's all just an artifact of the authoring. And so what we're starting to move towards with this issue is making a pipeline that's made up of several parent and child pipelines just look like a single pipeline. And what this does is right now we have the little box that's over on the right, and you click on that and it expands it over. We're still in the design phase for this, but what we're hoping to do is be able to make it so that there's no separate little box. So if you just click on the trigger job, then it will open it. So it's removing, you know, one step of what's making it a little not seamless today, and making it a little simpler. And we'll continue to iterate on this in every release. And but our goal is to where eventually, if you look at a pipeline and it's a child-parent pipeline and you're just trying to interact with it, or it doesn't look like multiple pipelines. It just looks like it's rendered as a single pipeline with everything that you need all in one place. Making the web IDE the preferred experience for editing the GitLab CI YAML. So when you're setting up a new project, there's a little button that says set up CI/CD, and it takes you to the single file editor, which doesn't have any syntax highlighting. It doesn't have other visualization features that we're going to be working on. It doesn't have the autocomplete or anything. It's just like a blank text edit, plain text editor, kind of like Notepad or whatever. We're going to change that button, and we're going to also check around for other places where there's just like an edit CI button, and make it so that by default it takes you to the web IDE for the editing experience, because now it's definitely clearly better to use the web IDE. Yeah, and that's what that one is. Let's see, show a warning message. Okay, this one is not mine, so it doesn't look familiar. And instrumenting the CI authoring funnel. So this is an internal one, if anybody external happens to be watching this. But we want to measure the time it takes from a person who creates a new project, runs a pipeline for the first time. So that means they've checked into GitLab CI YAML until they have a green pipeline. And one of the things that I'm working on is trying to make that iteration quicker, so that people can get their first green pipeline faster, that there's more automatic, there's better authoring tools, and that'll be a metric that I'm trying to drive down with the features that I'm working on. We can do a quick preview of some of the bugs too. I probably won't spend quite as much time on them, but and again, it'll only be for mine. Artifacts are not downloaded on child pipeline jobs is important to mature child pipelines. There is an issue that we're working on in 13.3 to help smooth out artifacts between parents and child pipelines. So this expands on that. Fixing it so that jobs made manual by rules are treated the same as other jobs. A variable expansion in the ref keyword for needs. What was this one? Let me just open it up. So again, this is practically this is adding support for variable here, but that's in order to make it easier to download artifacts between parent-child pipeline jobs. Artifacts not mine. This is the issue that this also simplifies the backend implementation for parent-child pipelines. Merge request. Fixes an issue with includes, also in child-parent pipelines. Artifacts, again, artifact downloading for child-parent pipelines, another issue there. This is an issue related to the only keyword that we'll look into to see if we can fix, because it's a popular issue. Another issue here for bridge pipelines related to the downstream job not updating the parent. Another one related to UX issue when there's two upstream or downstream ones available. Another one related to bridge pipelines about timeouts. Another one about behavior when the parent pipeline is retried. Another one about statuses within child pipelines. And that's it for mine, it looks like. So you can see we're doing a lot now to catch up on fixing some of the issues with child-parent pipelines. It's a really important feature, and you know, we always release things in iterations here, and So this is just the nature of us getting the feature out, unlocking some use cases, but now finding about some use cases and different things that we need to fix. So hopefully this was helpful. This is kind of the, again, the pre-kickoff. What you see in the kickoff meeting may be different, and but this is more meant to help our engineering team see what I'm hoping that they can work on. And yeah, hopefully this helps. If anybody has any questions, of course, just let me know. Thanks.